What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast. I'm a member of Belly Up Sports Media Network, and you can find us on all things podcasting. Just look us up at Insert Name FC. You can find the full video of this episode, the full video podcast version of this podcast. Jesus Christ. On Belly Up's YouTube channel, and you'll find shorter clips of these episodes broken down to be more digestible on our YouTube channel at Insert Name FC. As well, you can find us on Goals TV, GLZ.tv. And make sure you guys follow us on social media at Insert Name FC on Instagram and the X. This week, I am not gonna lie, I am not capable of doing an episode. I don't even know how I'm doing this right now. I got hit with a huge fever on Sunday. I was feeling sick on Saturday, which, fun fact about me, February, I always get sick, but never at this magnitude. But yeah, so Sunday I was battling a fever, and Monday, when I'm recording this right now, it's not as bad as yesterday, but still pretty bad. It hurts when I cough, but anyway, it's not the point. But so because of that, this episode will not feature me too much. You'll actually have Kelcey Coyne of High Low Sports stepping in to recap the table stage of Champions League, and also talk about the January transfer window, because that has concluded. I just want to flex one thing. I said Santi Jimenez was a name to keep an eye out for January, and he just got sent to AC Milan, and people thought I was crazy, but guess what? I was right. I'm trying so hard not to laugh right now because it hurts. But yeah, so Kelcey Coyne we'll wrap up the January transfer window, and then also recap the league stage of the Champions League, and also not preview, but give some predictions for the knockout rounds. So be ready for that. And then, I'm gonna do Players of the Week, give you guys some games to watch this weekend, and wrap the show up in a pretty little bow for you. So might be a shorter episode, which is perfectly fine, but I wish I could come in and do a full episode for you guys, but it hurts. Right now, it just hurts right now. But and if you guys watching this on YouTube, you guys can tell I look like crap. Which maybe I look the same. I don't know. But all right. So we're gonna take a break, go right into Kelcey talking about the transfer window, and yeah, enjoy. Let me tell you guys about Belly Up Sports. Belly Up Sports is the internet sports bar. Go ahead and check out their website, www.bellyupsports.com, to read some great articles from great writers all across the country, from hockey, baseball, golf, soccer, you name it. Belly Up Sports is the premier, not your average website.
What's up, everybody? It's Kelcey from the High Low Sports podcast, and I'm back to talk transfer window. That's right. The winter transfer window just closed up on the 3rd for most leagues, some of them on the 4th, depending on where they fall on the calendar. Most of the big leagues, though, the Big Five, Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, Ligue 1, and all of them all ended on Monday. So yeah, it's over. It's done. All the European teams have their moves. And it's time to talk some winners and losers. And I'm going to have a little fun with some of these winners and losers. Obviously, Liverpool is a neutral. Didn't do a whole lot that impacts everything. Sent a couple guys out on loan, a couple younger guys. So, not a whole lot that happened there for Liverpool. This January transfer window, compared to some of the past transfer windows across the board for pretty much any league, especially the EPL, though, was a little bit more restrained than we'd seen in the past. So it's something where you look at and you're like, man, there's not really been a whole lot of big moves. Well, you're right. There weren't a lot of big moves, but there were some crucial big moves that could build towards the future for some teams. As we look at across the board, some of the big players coming through, obviously going into the bigger destinations, but then there's some that ended up building up some younger, smaller teams. I say smaller, but they're Champions League teams. They're just not the recognizable Champions League teams most people are used to. So we're going to start with some of the winners. I'm going to start with, this one's a personal dear favorite. It's actually not even to do with any of the big winners here. Don't worry, I have a bonus one to replace it. But for me, a personal big winner here, Miguel Almiron leaving Newcastle and going back home, as he put it, to Atlanta United, a place where he started when Atlanta United came into the MLS. He will be returning to Atlanta. Obviously, Atlanta being the closest team to me when they first started, I immediately became an Atlanta United fan. Did not stop, did not pass go, did not wait, did not go to jail. None of that. I was already locked in. It's been a great ride for Atlanta. But most of that came with Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez. Obviously, one of those two now coming back to Atlanta. I'm hoping for a reuniting of the two men that helped lead Atlanta United on to a MLS Cup, their first MLS Cup, shortly after becoming the newest expansion squad. So look, I'm excited. I'm excited about this one. It's not one of my real true winners for this. Obviously, I'm going to be talking a lot more European for the winners and losers. But this one is just a very dear one to my heart, near and dear to what I like to do. You know what? Look, MLS has to get some love too, guys. I know I got a lot of heat for talking about Americans being little brothers in sports, but thinking they're big brothers. Obviously, the thinking part didn't make it into the clip, but they think they're big brother in every other sport. Well, they are a little brother, but you know what? Little brother brings a big player back to the MLS. And say what you will, but Miguel Almiron had been a big player in that midfield for Newcastle in the years he was there. Obviously, the state-funded Newcastle United. No longer needing the services of Miguel Almiron, coming back stateside. So I'm excited about that. See what he does back in Atlanta. A lot of work to be done in Atlanta, but we'll see what happens there. Now, on to my real winners. I'm going to start with one that I think is just a little bit more fun than it is a big winner. And I'm going to go with Danny Olmo. And everybody's going to be like, what are you talking about, Danny Olmo? Because this is going to actually encompass a loser as well. Danny Olmo has been allowed to register finally for Barcelona. Oh, wait. This is where the loser comes in. 2 days ago, before the transfer window ended, so February 1st, the president of La Liga comes out and says, no, you can't register after all. So now Danny Olmo is in this weird space where he just doesn't know. Again, he might be sitting out the second half of Barcelona season yet again because he cannot be registered. So while he did get registered, congratulations, that's the exciting, that's the winner, that's the yay. Now he's probably not going to be registered anymore. Now he goes into the loser category literally 5 seconds after I put him in the winners category. And everyone's like, what are you doing, man? Look, it's just what it is. You got to laugh at Barcelona nowadays. After so many years of doing things the right way, financial fair play finally caught up with them. Didn't actually do everything the right way. And they're being penalized by La Liga. And this makes me happy. It's inexplicably, it's hard to explain. But you know what? I like any moment where I don't have to sit there and grin and bear it when Barcelona continues to bring in top talent. And say what you will, Danny Olmo is one of the top attacking mids in European football. And it's funny to me that, you chose Barcelona under Hansi Flick, and guess what happens? Yep, still can't register. So, tough break for him. I'll be honest, I don't want to see a player get, the brunt of all of this, but I don't feel bad for Barcelona one bit. So while they are a winner because they finally got to register him, they are going quickly into the loser category as La Liga is deregistering Danny Olmo just as fast as he got registered. So starting out with a bang, guys. This is what we do. This is the fun part of it. There are a few other ones that I do want to talk about, and I'll go actually into the losers for some real ones now. Chelsea. At this point in time, if you're Chelsea, you didn't really bring in anybody big. You brought in a Nigerian midfielder in Matthias Amangu out of St. Etienne. You did so cheap, 15 million euros. And then you called back Trevor Chalobah, who is a loan recall from Crystal Palace, which is cool. But you lost out on Garnacho. You had no chance around every central striker that came out in this transfer window. You couldn't get any of them. You also sent out Cesare Cassette to Torino, getting the 15 million back you paid for him for Inter, so a net zero move. And then you loaned out Vega, Chilwell, and Joao Felix to AC Milan, which can that guy ever get some playing time nowadays? I don't know anymore. Does that make them any better? No, because guess what? Nkunku, who wanted to get out of Chelsea because he's only played 400 minutes so far in the Premier League, this season, 419 minutes, sorry. He doesn't feel like he's being loved enough at Chelsea. He wants out. The French international, though, could not get out of Chelsea. Despite interest from Bayern Munich and Man United, nothing came in because Chelsea wanted at least 60 million for a permanent transfer, and he couldn't even get out on a loan with a potential purchase option for him as well, because neither team, Bayern or Man United, wanted a short-term deal with the player. So, Christopher Nkunku, sorry, man. You and Chelsea go into the loser category here because it's just not good enough for you. Not good enough at all for you. I don't know what he has to do to get playing time. He's a quality midfielder. I don't know how much he needs to be fighting to get in there. He deserves a spot. He deserves time. Obviously, they say it's one on the training pitch. I just don't know how much he's getting love on the training pitch. Obviously, coming off of injury as well, going into this season, new managers, all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Talent should show up. So either he's not trying on the training pitch or this is something else. I'm not going to ever say that it should be something else. It probably isn't. It's probably something on the training pitch. He just doesn't fit with the scheme. I don't know. But if you're Chelsea, maybe help the guy out. Maybe give him that opportunity to leave. Maybe go after some teams that maybe want to actually do a loan deal with him with a potential purchase plan, or offer that to the bigger teams that were interested in Bayern and Man U. Obviously, you probably don't want to send him to Man U. I don't blame you for not going that way. I don't really want to see him go to Manchester either. I'd prefer him out of the EPL if you're going to send him anywhere, or send him to Liverpool. That's okay too. But yeah, definitely not to Man U. That's fine. But Bayern, look, it made sense. It works for what the style he plays. He feels like he would fit in well with Bayern, but unfortunately, not getting out of Chelsea, not getting out of Stamford Bridge. Stays for another transfer window. Does he get playing time in the second half of the season? We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. But it doesn't seem like things are on the right path for him. Speaking of things not on the right path, moving into my next big loser here for the transfer window. Arsenal, second highest scores in the Premier League, but your 2 and 3 scores, well, guess what? They're out with injury. That's Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Jesus. Kai Havertz still playing, but he's only been okay, really scoring. And you're trailing Liverpool. You need something. You need a shot of adrenaline into your attack, and you missed out on everybody. You missed out on Juventus's Dusan Vlahovic. You missed out on Atletico Madrid's Nico Williams. And you launched a bid to sign Aston Villa striker Ollie Watkins that was rejected by Aston Villa. I'll talk about it in a minute. You had links to Bayern's Tell, but you couldn't even get him. So here's Arsenal sitting as the second highest scorers in the Premier League with an outside shot, or well, really the whole shot to try to catch Liverpool here. And unfortunately, they're not doing anything to make the moves in the attack that they need to. It goes into another category where maybe you should if you're Michael Arteta. Maybe you do need to make those moves. Maybe you don't. Maybe you trust your guys to rally around themselves and build up. I don't know where the answer is here. He is an intelligent manager. He knows what he's doing, and Arsenal is playing lights out almost every step of the way. But if your front office isn't going to help you, I don't know how successful you can be at the end of the day. And I know this hurts Hector because I know he was hoping for somebody to step in and do something. But they're not helping themselves right now. On top of that, they did lose a young defender, Heaven, to Man United for some peanuts. I mean, it's not much. You would like to still see him around if for the young defender, have a chance to develop within the squad. Unfortunately, again, you lose out there to another EPL team. So it's not been a great start for some Premier League teams here as my first 2 losers. Yeah, you got to do better. I say my first 2 losers, obviously Danny Olmo being the first real loser here. Not for his fault, but it is purely for the fault of Barcelona. So Barcelona, Arsenal, Chelsea, and you know what? We're going to keep the theme of big squads looking like losers. And that's Man United. No surprise that I just was bagging on Man U. I've never really liked what they do in the transfer window after Sir Alex left. It just seems like they don't know what they want to do. It seems like there's no connection between the front office and the managerial staff, the training staff, figuring out what they need to do to get the best squad on the field. because right now they're not putting the best squad out there. You're losing Anthony de Real Batiste. You're losing Tyrell Malaysia to PSV. And you lost Marcus Rashford on a loan deal to Aston Villa. Now, with that said, I don't know if he was still going to be able to play and do anything useful for the squad, considering all of the issues that were between him and Amorim. But with that said, he's a talented player. Why are you sending him out on loan to Aston Villa? We'll never know. We'll just never know. But you do sign Heaven from Arsenal, getting away the young 18-year-old defender away from the Gunners, and getting him into Old Trafford. But again, this is another one. While you miss out on a goal-scoring forward, maybe you did something useful by getting a young defender since Lisandro Martinez is out. But I don't think it was enough to offset a lot of the other moves. Now, you did land Patrick Dorgu, so you're not as bad of a loser as some of these other squads, because he should fit well in with Amorim's formation. We'll have to wait and see how he does. Obviously, coming over from Lecce, there is a bit of a disconnect between playing styles between Italy and the English Premier League. But you never know what these guys are able to do. But the one thing I think we all have seen is talented players from Italy don't necessarily transition well to the Premier League. It doesn't always work in that route. Usually English Premier League to Serie A works out better. But this might be a situation where it works out. Only 30 million euros paid for Patrick Dorgu, though, so not the worst thing in the move, but still not the best there. You wonder when United will put it together and figure it out, but right now it doesn't seem like it's right now. It does seem like you have time, if you're a United fan, to kind of figure out the next jersey you want to buy, because you probably don't want to put a player on it. You want to probably wait on that. As a Liverpool fan who spent many years without buying a jersey with a player's name on it, I can tell you it's okay. It does get better. I hope it doesn't get better for United fans, but you know what? That's okay. I'll digress. I want to offend you guys too bad. I don't want to beat up the already broken. So yeah, that's my big losers in, especially Premier League wise. But I do have one more, just one more, and that's Napoli. And pardon me, I'm gonna butcher this man's last name, but Kvaratskhelia transfers to PSG. The potential $100 million man goes for a steal at $70 million to PSG. They call him Carvanado, so similar to Ronaldo. Yeah, they're talented player, and Kvaratskhelia is a young up and comer. And if you've seen him you saw him on the World Cup stage, you saw him on the Euro stage. You know his talent is there. He was a big reason that team is able to do a lot in the attacking third. But Napoli, though, man, you just let him go for a steal. 30 million euros that you let that go for. The man is being projected at 100 million euros. And all of that, and you couldn't sell him for even 85 to 90. So you take now it's not a loss for you because you only paid 15 million for him in the beginning, but it's a potential big gain for your squad who needs more money to develop that team even further in the Serie A, and Napoli couldn't do it. So lost out on a big chunk. And of course he goes to PSG. Why? Why do we keep sending these guys there? And I don't say that from the standpoint of like, I'm tired of seeing PSG being good. No, I'm saying that because I would love to see some of these guys come to Liverpool. Liverpool just never spend that type of cash, it seems like, in the January transfer window. They don't do it often, that's for sure. So yeah, losers here: Man United, Napoli, Arsenal, Barcelona and Dani Olmo, and Chelsea with Christopher Nkunku. Just not good enough across the board for these guys for losers. Man, there's more out there. I know there is. I'm missing some of the losers. But you know what? I don't want to finish this on a bad note. So I'm going to go straight winners for the rest of this. As I said, Atlanta United, one of them. Also, Dani Olmo for just getting to register. That should be a win. However, quickly going the other way, it feels like. But we're going to start with Man City, going from one side of Manchester to the other as a winner here. And the reason why they're a winner is they got good and they got young. And that's huge right now. Pep's looking for answers for the future because right now this team is aging and they're aging quickly. So what do they bring in? They bring in Kusanov from Lens. They bring in Vitor Rice from Palmeiras. And they bring in Omar Marmoush from Eintracht Frankfurt, who is probably the older of the group, but he is in form. He's a striker, and he's a talented player. And potentially, I say this as a Liverpool fan and as a Mo Salah fan, he is being dubbed the Egyptian Prince. That means he is the man to follow Mo Salah by the Egyptian media. He is that talented. So, with that said, Man City making moves and trying to bring in players from everywhere they can. Oh, and by the way, they weren't done because on transfer day, they make the move, bringing in Nico Gonzalez from FC Porto. And that's huge because it was a player that was being batted around with a lot of different spots. And then somehow they bring him in. Absolutely insane. But you know what? Congratulations to him for making that move. You know what? Nico Gonzalez is a difference maker, but I don't think he's the biggest difference maker here. I think it goes back to Omar Mamouche. I think Man City getting him from Eintracht Frankfurt, who's been having a fantastic year. He's more likely going to be a number 9. He should be a number 9, potentially playing out left, similar to what Coutinho used to do. What you see with Mbappe playing out wide left as well. Marmouche likes to slide out, be a number 9 or be kind of out wide left. He doesn't like being that sitting striker, that withdrawn number 9, so the number 10 role we see a lot of days, a center attacking mid. He doesn't like that as much. He's been playing there for Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been excelling there, but he normally plays, especially for Egypt, plays in that 9 role or slides out wide when they bring in Mo Salah up in the front too. And Marmouche will run that left channel a lot more often. But I think underrated here are the 2 young defenders, Rice and Kusanov. Obviously, they're 2 guys that maybe you don't run them up against the top tier talent in the Premier League right away. Maybe you build them up over time. You do have the talented players in front of them to give them time. But yeah, as of right now, Man City, a winner in my book for what they were able to do. It's been huge. Moving from them, though, I'm going to stay in the Premier League. I'm going to stay with Tottenham. And it comes down to 2 moves, maybe 3. I really look at 2 moves, though. Specifically, Kevin Danso, the loan signing of the center back. And then on top of that, bringing in Bayern Munich's Matthias Tell, to accept the loan move after originally rebuffing the offer to join Spurs. Postecoglou evidently worked his magic. I don't know how he did this, but he brings in Matthias Tell from Bayern. I don't know how you convince somebody to go from Bayern to Tottenham. Obviously, I understand Tottenham to Bayern, but I don't know what magic Harry Kane was working on the other side here. Maybe he is still a deep undercover Tottenham agent. I don't know. But he ends up, the Spurs in this case, ends up getting Matthias Tell, the much sought after young striker. So, yeah, we'll see how he's able to do in the Premier League. Again, this goes into one that you just never know how guys will do when they transition leagues, especially young, talented players. You see it all the time where maybe they don't excel the same ways. So, I don't think this is going to be the case with Tell, but you never know. Kevin Danso, I'm not also worried about either. They also landed Mark Gui from Crystal Palace. And sorry, that was rejected. My bad. I read that wrong. And then they got a few other moves here and there, but Tottenham making moves when they need to, and that's always huge. You just never know. I don't know. You never want to see a team, especially Tottenham. They seem to have fallen off since you saw Harry Kane leave. Well, it's all right. It's over now. They're back. So probably not back, but they're at least a top 7 squad, which for them, that's back. Sorry, Hector. And then any other winner here, I'm going to go with PSG, as I said earlier. Kvaratskhelia, whatever. I will mess up his name. Kvaradona, that's his nickname. Kvaradona, there you go. The Georgia international coming in at 60 million fee to PSG from Napoli, absolutely huge. PSG also, by the way, finding a permanent switch for Xavi Simons. as he ends up with RP Leipzig. And they made, PSG, by the way, made a cool 46 million euros off of that deal, as RB Leipzig paid 50 million for him. And on the other side, Xavi Simons was signed by PSG for a simple 4 million euros, which seems crazy to think of nowadays, that a player as talented as Xavi Simons only was bought for 4 million euros. Anyways, they also move on from defender Sharon Nadur, who ends up at Fiorentina, and Rano Kolomuani, he ends up heading to Juventus on a loan deal for the rest of the season. Hopefully he can recover some of his form and find the back of the net finally, and come back to PSG a little bit more ready for Ligue 1. We'll see. But PSG, a winner, I think it's safe to say, despite the Mbappe situation, obviously losing him in the offseason. Not like he's really helped a lot of for Real Madrid, though. So PSG, a winner, but still a little asterisk in the winner category. But net money wise, absolutely, obviously a winner. And probably my biggest winner, though, for this entire transfer window, I'm going to go Aston Villa. And you're probably looking at me like, what? What do you mean Aston Villa? Well, I think it's simple. Not only did they find a home for John Duran, sending him out on a $77 million deal to Al Nassr, the 21-year-old Colombian, well, they found homes for Jaden Philogene and Diego Carlos, both one going to Ipswich, the other going to Fenerbahce, as well as loans for Buendia and Nedalevich. So found some homes. They're trying to get under those sustainability rules, those PSR rules, the profit and sustainability rules. But they weren't done just shipping players out. And this is what makes Aston Villa a winner in my eyes. They bring in Daniel Malen from Dortmund, who will be an upfront option. I mean, one of the fastest players during his time in Dortmund across the board. And then also bringing in a very late move, a late loan move, getting PSG's Marco Asensio. And again, another low risk, high reward opportunity for Villa, who is, by the way, let's not forget, in the top 8 for the Champions League. So they have a bye to the round of 16. They're looking for talent to get them through into the quarters and semis. And then on top of that, they do make moves for Andres Correa and then Axel Disasi. And that's the two moves that I think help get them in the winner category. But I think the one that solidified it for me, that the biggest winners, is they get the man that's looking to be free. Talk about Marcus Rashford coming in from Man United, making that big move finally to get him out from underneath whatever was happening at Man United. Honestly, at this point in time, as an American, I don't get enough of the news as everybody else. Obviously, I got to read the tabloids. In America, you got to understand, though, tabloids don't mean a whole lot to us. So the news that I'm hearing is obviously a lot of secondhand, a lot of fighting with the manager, and the manager not liking his play style or his practice style. Marcus Rashford not getting playing time because of that. It's the story as old as time. A superstar player not practicing hard and then getting hated by a new manager, and then blah, 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 blah goes down as such. Well, for Aston Villa, this gives them that talented player up front, replacing John Duran and getting Daniel Malen together. We've seen Rashford one-on-one with keepers and one-on-one with defensemen just tear them apart. Add in a super speeder like Daniel Malen on the other side, somebody to get into the box for Marcus Rashford. And now you have two weapons getting up front and attacking. And then, oh, by the way, Marcos Asensio, who is one of the smoothest passers in the midfield still. I know he's much maligned to many Real Madrid fans, but he's still a talented player. I think that's huge. Then as in, add in the defenders here, where you get Andres Garcia and you get Axel Disasi. Those two moves help out a lot to build this team from the back going forward, especially when you see Diego Carlos go out, but especially when you see Philogene go out. Being able to replace these guys with net neutral talent across the board, I think is huge for Aston Villa. But then on top of that, you improve your forward group to a plus rating. I think this is where you get into a really exciting standpoint. And there's a lot of great moves there. So yeah, I love the moves from Aston Villa. So recapping the winners I have so far: Aston Villa, City, especially getting Marmoush. I think that's a huge move for them. Tottenham and their moves. And then Atlanta with Atlanta United, getting Miguel Almiron, returning home. I always love that. It's absolutely fantastic for him. So there's a lot of big moves, and then obviously the joke winner for this is Danny Olmo, who, despite finally being able to register, quickly moves into the loser category because La Liga won't let that happen. It feels like, as they are already coming out and saying that they are not going to allow that, and they're already seeking to deregister him, which was 2 days prior to the transfer window. They announced that, so February 1st. And the transfer window closes on February 3rd. So not like Barcelona has a whole lot of time to go out there and try to figure something out, and they weren't able to. So tough break there. There were some big moves even for some of the losers. Man United still got Patrick Dorgu, which is huge for them. But then some of the other losers, some of the moves they made is like, Chelsea, like you're getting rid of everybody. It feels like you're losing out on anything useful. I'll still stand by Man United. Losing Marcus Rashford is a huge loss for him. Yeah, sure, he wasn't doing anything right now. Doesn't mean he can't do anything for you down the road. I don't know. I think Arsenal's absence of doing anything is huge. Just the meh type of reaction to not making a move. I think you need better. Hector's probably not happy about Arsenal not making a move at all. But it's close. These top 4 spots, these Champions League spots in the Premier League. Make a move for a striker when you got 2 guys down. You probably have a chance to sneak yourself into one or stay in the top 4, or even sneak yourself in on a whole shot to take over for Liverpool down the stretch in case Liverpool stumbles like we've known them to do in the past. Yes, I say that as a Liverpool fan. And yes, it does still hurt to know that it was a slip away from being a title much earlier and getting Stevie G his. But oh well, you know what? The past. Just like this transfer window, it is done and gone. We're moving on. As always, guys, I appreciate Hector for letting me come on and ramble about the transfer window. A lot of excitement happening this transfer window. A lot of things to look forward to in the transfer window that will impact the end of the season, especially Champions League play. Stretches games down the stretch for some of these bigger teams. Yeah, it's huge, and we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out. But for now, it's going to be fun to talk about until we see them on the pitch. So, guys, I always appreciate it. Hector, thank you for letting me come on yet again. If you guys haven't checked out the High Low Sports podcast yet, head on over to High Low Sports on any one of your social media platforms or at high_low_sports on X. And check out what we got going for you. And stay tuned for more Insert Name FC coming right up.
Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast, here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip, using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada Dip CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at CanadaDipCBD.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at CanadaDipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canada Dips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports.
What's up, everybody? It's Kelcey from the High Low Sports Podcast, helping Hector out a little bit today as we're talking, or recapping really, the Champions League stages. And we're going to look forward to the knockout stage playoffs because things, well, they're very interesting now this year. Obviously, if you guys haven't been keeping up, there is a new format for Champions League. Hector and I have talked about this on the show before, and I know Hector's talked about it in other episodes of Insert Name FC. But today, we're going to kind of recap what this means going forward, but really what we did to get here. So for those that didn't know, they got rid of the group stages. They replaced it with what they call the league stage. And what it was 36 teams. I love it. Obviously, even though Europa League can have some very exciting tournaments, having this set up this way was very interesting. So 36 teams entered into this whole league system. That means 8 games for everybody in the league stage. Now, the interesting thing is it's set up just like a league table, like you would in any league: EPL, La Liga, Serie A, you name it, they're all there. And instead of doing the 3 teams per group and wins, losses, points, everything like that, it's still the same, but it's a group stage. Instead of gone as a group stage, it's just league stage. So it's really cool. to see. Obviously, being a Liverpool supporter, I am very happy with the way this all turned out, as Liverpool does advance through the league stage to get into the automatic bid for the round of 16, which is unique because I'll get into this in a minute. There is a knockout playoff first before the round of 16, unlike previous years. It's not just win your group and get second in your group and you're into the round of 16. No, you had to finish in the top 8 of the league stage to move on. It automatically advanced for the round of 16. So things got a little interesting. Things were down to the wire as match day 8 for the league stage came through. And there were teams that you were sitting there looking at, wondering, how are you sitting on the outside looking in going into match day 8? Specifically, Man City and PSG. Going into last night, PSG needed a win to stay in the top 24, which is what the automatic qualifiers for either the knockout playoff or the round of 16 for the top 8. But for PSG, they were just concerned about winning to stay in the top 24. And then Man City, on the other hand, they were sitting outside of the top 24. Lucky for them, they were going up against Club Brugge, who in their own right had to win to stay in, or so we thought. They could lose, but they needed some help. And that's exactly what happened. Man City was able to pull out a huge victory over Club Brugge. I say huge. People are going to be like, oh, what are you talking about? Club Brugge is, they're a team that Man City should beat. You're right. They should beat. But also Man City should not be in 28th going into the last match day of the league stage of the Champions League. They should be in the top 12 position trying to fight their way in to that top 8. But they weren't even close. It's not even remotely close to the situation. Man City finished on 11 points. They finished with 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses in the league stage, which for them, pretty surprising to say the least. Now, they finished even with Club Brugge, but because of the head-to-head, they did finish ahead of them, finished 22nd in the league table. And as I mentioned, PSG was able to win their final game as well, get up to 13 points. They were sitting on 10 from the outside looking in as well. Actually, I do believe they were 25th going into it. So 2 teams that you should expect to see in the round of 16 almost didn't even make the knockout playoffs this year, which is where this whole format comes in. It's actually was really cool. Loved every single moment of the league stage. It was very exciting. Obviously, round 8 for me didn't really matter as much. Liverpool, Barcelona, they were fighting for the top spot. Liverpool, with a draw, guaranteed their spot, or if they lost in a Barcelona draw or loss, Liverpool would take the top spot. As I mentioned, Liverpool does advance out of the group stage, out of the league stage, with the top spot, which means Barcelona, they drew. Didn't need, a whole lot. I honestly don't even know if they were really going for a win in this one. I would have thought they could have. Instead, they decided to get the 19 points, get in there with a draw. And look, they were already assured of a bye, so they weren't really concerned with maybe getting some of their top players out there, potentially getting injuries. That was the last thing on their mind, was potential injuries going into the late part of the season. As we get down to that last 3-4 months of the season, and this is where it's make or break for some of these bigger teams. So from the bottom side, Man City sneaks in, PSG sneaks in, but on the top side, Liverpool, Barcelona easily walk in. Those are kind of the biggest storylines from the league stage. At least when you look at it from the standpoint of, all right, well, who won, who got the automatic advancement, and then on the backside of it, well, who snuck their way in? As I mentioned, Club Brugge did sneak their way in because of a few losses. Dynamo Zagreb, VfB Stuttgart falling out. They are eliminated from the competition. And then teams that were already eliminated: Shakhtar Donetsk, Bologna, Red Star Belgrade, SK Sturm, Sparta Praha, RB Leipzig, Girona, RB Salzburg, Slovan Bratislava, and Young Boys BSC. All those teams were already eliminated from Shakhtar down. It was Dynamo Zagreb and it was VfB Stuttgart as the 2 last really teams with a chance. If Dynamo Zagreb had pulled another 3 goals from their victory in the final match day, they could have upset Club Brugge, or Club Brugge had lost by 3 goals more. That had an opportunity there, and Stuttgart would have needed a full-on win in order to advance, and that would have knocked Club Brugge out. So it was very interesting down at the bottom of this table with Bruges, Sporting Portugal, Man City all finishing on 11 points. They're 22, 23, 24. So very bottom of this league format of getting into the knockout playoff. Ahead of them, you had Celtic finishing on 12, along with Juventus on 12, who both teams lost in match day 8. And then you have Feyenoord right above them, along with Brest, Monaco, Benfica, PSG, all finishing on 13 points, with PSG and Benfica both winning their last match day, whereas the other 3 not able to win, but all finishing still on 13 points, with Brest, which is, as you know, Thierry Henry and Micah Richards' favorite team, it seems like, in this league, in the league stage this year. They did get advanced to the knockout playoffs, and it's going to be very interesting to see where they seed up and who they get matched up with in that knockout playoff. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then finishing out the knockout playoffs at 15 points, you ended up with AC Milan, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Dortmund, Atalanta, all with 15 points, with Dortmund, Real Madrid, and Bayern all winning their final match day. Milan and Atalanta not being able to pull out a victory. Atalanta with a draw, Milan with a loss, solidifying their spots there. And Milan, who, by the way, was in the top 8 going into match day 8, unable to hold on to that automatic qualifier for the round of 16, but they do go into the knockout playoff with a pretty high seeding, so they'll play leg 2 at home is what that means. And I'll get into that whole reseeding format in the knockout playoff in a second. But then your automatic qualifiers for the round of 16, and maybe surprise some people with some of these teams. Aston Villa with a victory in their last game. They finish with 16 points. So does Lille out of France, also finishes on 16 points, and does Leverkusen. All 3 teams with a victory in match day 8 got themselves into this position, getting that 1 extra point over the teams below them to get into the automatic qualifier for the round of 16, which means they get about a month-long break for Champions League, so they get to play their league matches, and then in between during the week, they don't have the Champions League matches like some. So that is going to help them recover a little bit there, especially you talk about Leverkusen, Lille, some tough schedules there. Look, they're not the top team in the German Bundesliga for Leverkusen or in the Ligue 1 for Lille. Aston Villa, we know they're not the top team in the Premier League. However, these guys get to take a break a little bit here and down the stretch and actually get to prepare for what's to come in the round of 16 and see what maybe opponent they get matched up with. Now, 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place, and 2nd, I already mentioned Barcelona, all finished on 19 points. Barcelona, the only team out of these 5 to not get, out of these 4 to not get a victory on match day 8. Rounding out that top 4, though, from 5 to 2, is Atletico Madrid at number 5. Inter Milan, by the way, the other Milan team, at number 4. Arsenal holding on to that number 3 spot. As I mentioned, Barcelona at 2. Liverpool at 1, finishing on 21 points with only 1 loss in their league stage, giving them a 7-0-1 record in that top spot in the league stage. So what does that mean? What does finishing top 8 in the league actually mean for your team? The best way to say it is you get to sit at home and you get to watch and you get to learn. These top 8 seeds, they get to sit and watch a two-tie playoff between these knockout teams ranking 9 through 24, which goes Atalanta down to Club Brugge. I'll rename them here in a second. These guys have to go through 2 legs in the knockout playoff to get to the round of 16, and then it continues like normal: round of 16, quarterfinals, semifinals, and then the finals. It's going to be a tough road for teams that aren't in that automatic qualifier for the round of 16. So you look at some of these teams, though, who have found their way in here. There's some big names. We already talked Dortmund, which maybe isn't the biggest name of this group I'm about to name, but they are recently especially a big name. And in German football, they are completely a huge name. Real Madrid. We all know them. We all have a feeling towards them. Hector a little more so than myself. Real Madrid finishes in that knockout playoff. Bayern Munich finishes in that knockout playoff. AC Milan in that knockout playoff. Sneaking their way into the knockout playoff is a big team in PSG. And then you have Juventus down at 20th, sneaking their way in. And one I'm a little bit soft in the heart to. I think there's a few teams out there, or a few people out there that might think this team is not a big team, but when you talk European play, they are a big team despite being in the Scottish Premier League. And that is Celtic. They are in the knockout playoff. Man City, and then Club Brugge, who, while not as big as the rest, and same with PSV, not as big as the rest, still a recognizable name. Benfica, Monaco, as the others, as well as Sporting Portugal. If nobody knows, That's where Cristiano Ronaldo came from. So recognizable names of all of them, brand names. All right, so top 8 get to avoid that. So your Liverpools, your Barcelonas, your Arsenals, your Inters, your Atletico Madrids, your Leverkusens, your Lilles, your Aston Villas all get to avoid this unnecessary for them 2-leg tie. On the flip side, the 9 through 24 is where it gets really fun because some of these matchups, they are very interesting. Now, this is like your normal tournament rules. So Americans, we all know this regulation, this seeding, if you will, for a knockout stage based on a league standing. It goes lowest ranking versus highest ranking, or vice versa. You know, if you're 24 ranked, you're going to play the top rank, which is the 9 rank. So on and so forth. They just slowly combine until the 2 closest teams, which are 17 versus 16, will match up. All right, so let's just go through those. You have Brest, who is 18th in the seedings, taking on PSG. Maybe a good spot for PSG. We'll have to wait and see. Brest has been kind of that darling of the Champions League for many reasons. But in this case, it's because they played pretty good. It's a team that's played surprisingly well, surprised some folks. And you can't discount them when they come into this tournament. Now, that said, PSG, this is a team we're all expecting to do something. Now, if you've heard Hector and I talk about this in previous episodes, we talked about the fact that at one point in time this season they were undefeated, and nobody was talking about them because they weren't even first in the French league as an undefeated team. So it's crazy for PSG, but here they are. They're in the knockout playoff. All they got to do is win both legs, away goal rule, just like everything else. So they take on Brest in that first matchup. This first matchup will be played at Brest, followed by PSG in the second leg. And in the 17 versus 16 matchup, you have Monaco versus Benfica, so a France and Portugal matchup. It'll be very interesting to see how that matchup goes, as those are the 2 closest ranked teams. Does that mean they're the most evenly matched? Maybe, maybe not. It all depends on how you want to look at this tournament. I would love to say yes, it's probably the most evenly matched of the groups. It's going to be the most exciting in my eyes. I do love this. It's not the biggest names, but I do love this matchup from the standpoint of it's going to be back and forth. Portugal is not necessarily known for its defense, and neither is France in a lot of ways. Monaco and Benfica both known for their attacking prowess, more so than their defensive prowesses. As that goes down in their history as Thierry Henry, Kylian Mbappe, both coming from an AS Monaco, Benfica, turning out their fair share of young Portuguese stars as well, especially in the attacking third. In that big matchup, that 24 versus 9 matchup, the worst team qualifying for the knockout playoff versus the closest team to getting a bye. And notice air quotes if you're listening to this in audio only. I did drop them for both those sayings because when I drop these 2 team names, you're going to look at me and you're going to think I'm crazy. But you have Club Brugge at 24 and Atalanta at 9 matching up in this match. And this is going to be, again, another fun one. Now, both these teams have been hampered by the transfer window, so this could change some things in the matchup. But I do still like this matchup to get through just to see what happens. And I'll talk about what happens for the winner here in a minute because this gets even more interesting going forward. Sporting Portugal taking on Dortmund, the 23 versus 10 matchup. So again, talk about a big hitter there in Dortmund, and then you have on the other side Sporting Portugal, who I believe is still a big team in European football. Some people might disagree because they're from Portugal. I mean, all right, that's what you think. Not too long ago, European champions Portugal. But yeah, Sporting Portugal versus Dortmund should be a very interesting matchup. Obviously, Gio Reyna potentially playing in that one if he stays in Dortmund. We'll have to wait and see on that. And in probably the biggest named matchup, we have Man City taking on Real Madrid. And this one is your 22 versus 11 matchup. This one's going to be really interesting to see. You have all the stars from Real Madrid. You can name them, you love them, or you hate them. Take your pick. But you're taking on Man City. Pep's Man City. Pep, who loves to beat up on Real Madrid in big games. That Pep Guardiola. And this Man City team who is retooling, trying to build themselves for the future, and still stay within the financial fair play rules. I don't know if they did that, but you know what? They're doing what they can to come back from that really probably disappointing league stage in a lot of eyes. And they've shipped out some players, some big names heading out, brought in some young players. Hopefully they'll get some playing time. We'll be able to see really what Man City's made up of in this one. I don't know if they they can beat Real Madrid in this head-to-head matchup. At least right now, it feels like this is a Real Madrid game to look for, at least to look for them to really just kind of put their pedal to the metal and not look back. But Man City's been known to surprise some folks, and especially with Pep in charge, you know what kind of tactics they can pull out. It's just absolutely magnificent to watch that team. But so two really big teams. I don't know if this is necessarily the best matchup, though, of this knockout playoff, but it's going to be one I'm going to be tuned into. And that's, I guess, maybe more important for me. I don't really care about the most excitement, but I'm definitely going to tune into this one as well, along with that Monaco-Benfica matchup. Now, I'm probably going to watch all 8 of these matchups, but you know what? Those are my 2 priorities right now. Not discounting any of these other matchups I'm still yet to come to. Coming in at the 21-12 matchup, we have Celtic versus Bayern Munich. As I mentioned, Bayern Munich may be surprising some folks falling down here into the knockout playoff, falling down. I mean, only 8 teams can get there. Should they have been one of the top 8? Probably. They did have a tougher league stage route than everybody else. And they have been hampered by some injuries this season. So we'll see there. But Celtic is never a stranger to European competitions and never a stranger to surprising some of the bigger teams on a big stage. So, yeah, look out for Celtic here. If you're Bayern, obviously you have all the weapons in the world if you're Bayern, but do you have the weapons enough to keep them from scoring on the other side is going to be the question. Celtic can surprise you on a counterattack. All it takes is one mistake on the offensive end, turns into a breakaway for Celtic, and next thing you know, you're down 1-0, or you're back to 1-1. And they're just holding on for dear life. And good luck when you head back to Scotland to play that matchup. Obviously, the first leg is in Scotland, so probably I mean this the other way around. But going to Scotland and playing Celtic in Celtic, never easy. I wish everybody luck if you're going to go to that game. And be careful. But yeah, Bayern Munich, obviously, Allianz at home, leg 2, have every opportunity. If it's a close tie going into leg 2, look out for Bayern to break this one open big time. It'll be a fun matchup, though. Again, these are all going to be fun for different reasons. Maybe some are going to be more exciting. Maybe some are going to be less exciting for average viewers, but for those that enjoy the tactics that is football or soccer for Americans, you'll understand. Now, again, this one goes into a big named matchup. I don't know, again, if this is a really great matchup, though. Juventus versus PSG. Obviously, the names are there. 20 versus 14. The names are there. This is set up to be something special. Oh, sorry, PSV, not PSG. I already said PSG. Juventus versus PSV. Again, I've said PSV to me is a big team name. But will it mean anything for this matchup? I don't know. I will be staying tuned for this one because there are Americans playing on both sides. So that's always exciting. Obviously, you have Ricardo Pepi playing on PSV. There's the other side, Weston McKennie potentially playing for Juventus, should be playing for Juventus, along with Timothy Weah, healthy. That should be a fun matchup. But I think Juventus obviously has the talent here over PSV. But again, this just goes into the same category as just a Celtic. Be careful if you're Juventus. You don't know when PSV is going to pull out a magic wand, and next thing you know, it's 2-1. By the way, PSV beating Liverpool in the match day 8. So maybe I'm a little biased here. Maybe I don't want them to win because of that. I don't know. I think it'll be a fun matchup, though, top to bottom for this one. And in the last matchup, Feyenoord versus AC Milan, 19 versus 13. Obviously, it's in a weird order that I laid all these out. This is the order that UEFA has on their website, and the reason why I'll get to in a second. But it all goes down to what it sets up later in the knockout stages, the round of 16 stages and below, as far as how that seeding ended up. So I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, Feyenoord versus AC Milan. AC Milan bringing in Kyle Walker now. Should be interesting to see. And then Feyenoord on the other side. Well, can you count out Feyenoord ever? I don't know. Again, this one goes in the category of probably not going to be a good game to watch for just average fans, but those that love football, love soccer, this is going to be one you're going to enjoy. Obviously, Christian Pulisic for those American fans, AC Milan. It should be an interesting matchup. Again, all these are going to be fun. San Siro only having one team playing, by the way, in Milan during this stretch. So don't worry. You don't have to worry if you're the grounds crew in the San Siro. You don't have to worry about changing out the grass every 2 days, basically. You get a little bit of a break at least. But now, This keeps going. This doesn't just finish, guys. The knockout playoffs are just one set of it. These are 2 legs, and there's 16 teams, 8 matchups. Once this tie ends, the 2 legs ends, they immediately go into the round of 16. Didn't say immediately because there is a little bit of a shakedown afterwards. But basically, it goes simple after that. So everybody knows UEFA has their weird seeding versus non-seeding, but let me just simply put this in the best way possible. For American fans, you'll understand a little bit of this if you watch the NFL. For European fans who have never maybe seen this type of a setup, it's very intriguing. So what you get is the 18 versus 15 matchup, which is the Brest versus PSG, and the Monaco versus Benfica matchup, the 17 versus 16 matchup. The winner of each of those, so there'll be 2 winners. One will face Liverpool, one will face Barcelona. Now, it should match up that it's the lower seed taking on the higher seed. So it should be Liverpool playing the lowest seed winner out of those. So potentially an 18 versus 1 matchup. Doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be true. We'll see. Now, the reason why it's laid out, like I said, this is what was laid out really weird on UEFA's website. So this is all because of the matchups, the way they were laid out. This is why they were laid out the way they were. Club Brugge versus Atalanta, 24 versus 9. The winner of that and the winner of Sporting versus Dortmund, 23 versus 10, potentially takes on either Lille or Aston Villa. Again, this depends on where it all shakes out and how it comes to the seeding and the draw. Now, the draw will be on the 21st of February. The matchups here for the knockout playoffs take place on 2-11 and 12, and then leg 2 will be 2-18 and 2-19. So February 11th and 12th, and then leg 2 takes place February 18th and 19th. The draw for the knockout round, the round of 16, is February 21st. So these have these basically change out, but you have a silver pool, you have a blue pool, you have the seeded, which are the 1 through 8, the unseeded, which will be the winners of the 2 matchups get thrown in this pot. So yeah, like I said, it should be the lowest number, but it's not going to be that way. It's just UEFA going to UEFA. The 22 versus 11 matchup, which is your Man City versus Real Madrid, and your Celtic versus Bayern matchup winner, those will get thrown into a pot to take on either Atletico Madrid or Bayer Leverkusen, setting up some really interesting possibilities here if Real Madrid and Bayern Munich were to win per se. Then you have a situation where you have Bayer Leverkusen versus Bayern Munich potentially, and Atletico Madrid versus Real Madrid, setting up a very interesting inter-conference matchup. Obviously you have La Liga versus La Liga, and then Bundesliga versus Bundesliga, historical matchups on one side, and then on the other side, a historic rivalry in Atletico and Real Madrid, which I think everybody wants to see. So we'll see how that one shakes out as well. Obviously, we can hope for the best there. Now, there is a potential that Man City and Celtic get through, and we don't get to see those matchups, but we just never know. And then 20 versus 14, so your Juventus versus PSV, and then on the other side, Feyenoord versus AC Milan. The winner of both of those matchups will take on either Inter Milan or Arsenal. Again, you set up a very interesting category here where if AC Milan were to win and Juventus were to win, then you have a situation where you could either one faces Inter Milan. One of them would face Inter Milan. Could be AC, so you have a San Siro derby, or you have Juventus versus Inter, which sets up a very interesting aspect. And on the other side, you have Arsenal versus AC Milan, or flip that, Juventus versus Arsenal, AC Milan versus Inter. So a very interesting matchup setting up here for that round of 16 that we're going to get probably a little more exciting matchups than we had in the past. Obviously, this is a really convoluted system with the new system. I do enjoy it. I do think it adds a little bit more pizzazz, more spice to it all. But it's really crazy. It's been very crazy to watch. Obviously, the league standings, I think that worked out well. The league stage worked out really well for what UEFA wanted to do for the Champions League. What I'm concerned about is now we get into the reseeding after the knockout playoff. I do like the knockout playoff going lowest versus highest, so 9 versus 24, 10 versus 23, so on and so forth. I do think that's exciting. I am worried a little bit about this reseeding afterwards. I know why they do it. It's to avoid it for American fans, to avoid what happened in the college football playoffs. And then for non-American fans, just avoid potentially having an overpowered team like Man City sneaking in at 22, playing a potentially lesser qualified seeded team. Now, it wouldn't be the first time that's happened in soccer or football, but it's probably the one thing they want to avoid when they talk about this new format. And obviously, if you guys don't remember, this new league format came from the failed attempt at the Super League that they were talking about. They just basically said, forget the other stuff. We're going to put it all together, and we're going to see if the best team can win. A lot more money in the pool here, a lot more excitement in the pool, a lot more games that they're now televising. I mean, 18 games on match day 8 was absolutely insane with all of them starting at the same time. I loved every moment of it. I basically had TV with 4 screens on it, monitor, four different games on it, computer over here with 4 different games on it, and I was still missing another 6 games. So I'm popping up my phone, just watching live highlights, just seeing what I can catch. It was great. Honestly, I loved it. I think that from the standpoint of that, it was the best thing that they've done for the Champions League, for at least the group stage, which, I mean, don't get me wrong. League stage, I honestly skipped out for a couple of the weeks, a couple match day 6 and 7. I didn't really care enough about. Match day 8, I was excited for, not for Liverpool, but just for the excitement of 18 games starting at the same time. I mean, that's just unheard of. That's something you don't ever see from that many games starting at that time. That was the exciting part. I mean, it was so cool. From that standpoint, I think there's a lot to build on for just what they do in the group stage. Now, going forward, yeah, I mean, there's some things they probably need to work out. Maybe some evening out of the matchups in the league stage would be helpful for some teams. And then on the flip side, still kind of like it. Like, keep doing what you're doing type of stuff. Like, year 1, I'd love to see what they do in year 2. This is a tinkering situation. I don't know if they're going to give it 3 years and then redo it, or they're going to redo something after year 2. But for so far, I think the league standings league stage for Champions League checks the box. Now this knockout round, I think is going to be, there's 8 matchups. There's 16 teams, and all 16 teams probably deserve to be in some sort of conversation for a top 8 bye. And I think that's a part that is we went into match day 8 with 28 teams potentially eligible to make their way into, 26 teams potentially eligible to make their way into the round of 8. And that's the round of 16, which is the automatic bye, 1 through 8. And that's the crazy part of it all. Outside of Liverpool and Barcelona, who had locked themselves up for that bye, there were 6 other spots, and there were 26 teams vying for those spots. That's just absolutely crazy. I believe it's 23 teams, and then the other 3 were just trying to get themselves in the top 24, which 2 of the 3 did. PSG and Man City both made their way in there. Club Brugge also holding on to that spot. It was exciting. But again, we get to that knockout stage, 9 versus 24, 10 versus 23. This is where things get really exciting again. 2 leg matchups. It's always fun. Home and aways. Aggregate score. If they need to go to penalties. I really hope they don't go to penalties. I'm tired of seeing penalties decide things. I get why they do it. It's a better alternative than golden goal, because I'm glad I wasn't alive in that era of football. I was, but I wasn't watching this football at that time. But, it was exciting. We'll see what they're able to do with this knockout stage. Obviously, I might take back all of my words about disliking the knockout reseeding after they reseed and Liverpool avoids potentially something bad. I don't know. But yeah, so far I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see what's going to happen, because I imagine this is going to be very interesting. And obviously, Hector being a Real Madrid fan, I feel like there's a jersey bet coming here for Hector. I don't want to put him on the spot, but if Real Madrid is unable to beat Man City in this 2-leg matchup, I feel like there should be a jersey bet. Let's take that one over to Hector. Let's see what he says here, because I think he owes us a jersey bet on this one, and we'll see. Obviously, wait and see where this one goes. But yeah, no, guys, this is going to be very exciting as we get down closer to the end of the Champions League. We're done with the league stage, and it was in January. Now we start February with some exciting knockout round games. We don't have to wait till March like we had in the past. We get knockout rounds in February, and then March. Now we get round 16. Now, and it continues in April with the round of 8, quarterfinals, semis, and then the finals in May, as always. So it'll be exciting to see what 2 teams are finishing out in the Champions League. But as always, Hector, I appreciate you having me come on. If you guys haven't checked out Hilo Sports, go check it out. It's all things sports. Doesn't just matter one thing or the other. We talk about it all. But I always do enjoy my time on Insert Name FC to talk a little bit of American soccer. So for those that hate me after the Instagram post, look, Americans are little brother in every sport, but they believe, keyword, they believe that they are big brother in every sport. But they're a little brother especially when it comes to soccer. And to emphasize my point, we need a superstar to come from America to ever have a chance to become anything more than little brother. It's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for another episode. So, Hector, I appreciate you having me come on, talk a little bit of Champions League, a lot of Champions League. Probably missed something. I'm sorry, but I did my best, man. All right. Anyways, guys, I will see you guys again next time. I appreciate it, as always, for having me be a part of Insert Name FC.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys. Players of the Week is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an amazing ticketing site app, depending on how you use it. It is very simple. It has a very great grading system. Using colors. If it's red, that means keep searching through the app. You're gonna find a better deal for that location. And if it's green, that means for these seats and for that price, that's the best deal possible. Go ahead and buy these tickets. We love the simplicity of SeatGeek, and we use SeatGeek for a lot of our live events when it comes to sports, concerts, theater, whatever. If it's live, SeatGeek definitely has it there. So if you guys are not fully enticed yet by SeatGeek, well, if you guys use the code BellyUpSports at checkout, it'll save $20 off your first purchase. So first-time purchase users, if you guys use the code BellyUp, BellyUpSports, you will save $20 off your first purchase. Thank you to SeatGeek for being our presenting partner for Players of the Week. All right, my player of the week is Harry Kane, who scored 2 goals in Bayern Munich's 4-3 win against Holstein Kiel. And Edwards' player of the week is Randall Kolo Muani, who scores 2 goals in Juventus' 4-1 win against Empoli. And he was a player that I was hoping was going to go to Arsenal, but he went to Juventus and already being impactful for Juventus already. So congratulations to Harry Kane and Randall Kolo Muani for being our players of the week. Once again, guys, use that code BellyUpSports at checkout at SeatGeek.com. Save $20 off your first purchase. Games to watch this weekend, we got FC Porto and Sporting Lisbon taking on over there in Portugal. A very juicy rivalry. If you guys don't watch the Portuguese League, I totally get it. But if there was a match to watch, this was the match definitely to watch. We got in Liga Benfica, PSG. Benfica, I don't know what the hell that was about. We got PSG taking on Monaco and Nice versus Lens. So some good matchups there in Ligue 1. In the Bundesliga, we got Borussia Dortmund taking on VfB Stuttgart. Like I said, man, Dortmund's got so much work ahead of them. We'll see how they respond against Stuttgart. And Borussia Mönchengladbach taking on Eintracht Frankfurt. In the Serie A, we got Hellas Verona versus Atalanta. Atalanta took a kind of a dip drawing last week. Can they keep themselves in contention for the Serie A title? And Napoli taking on Udinese, another team contending for the Serie A. In La Liga, we got the Madrid derby, Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid, which also means a jersey bet between me, Edward, and Spencer. It'll be me and Spencer once again. Last week was Manchester City versus Arsenal, which Manchester City got whooped. So I'm happy about that, but we'll see what happens here again for Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid. And then Sevilla is taking on Barcelona. That's going on in La Liga. In the Premier League, we got the FA Cup, so a lot of interesting matchups there. I believe. So good matches. So make sure you guys go ahead and check out what's going on there in the FA Cup. But that's all I really got, man. I know it's not all the matches happening this weekend, but if you guys need a good beginner's guide, that's a good spot for you right there. All right, so we'll go ahead and take one more break and then wrap the show up.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at RighteousFelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
All right, guys. I want to thank Kelcey so much for coming on and stepping up. It just sucks when you're not able to perform, but hey, that's why we have the super sub there. So for you, so thank you to Kelcey. Make sure you guys check out High Low Sports on everything social media at high_low_sports. I think that's their Twitter and their Instagram is High Low Sports. So thank you for coming on and helping me right now in this weird time of need, I guess. But if you guys want to see other great content creators here at Belly Up, well, check out bellyupsports.com. Lots of great articles, lots of great video content being made over there, as well as the Corner Booth Pod, 1420, Soundlight Summit. That's interesting. Soundlight Summit and many more. So go ahead and check out bellyupsports.com to see what's being covered over there, especially here in the U.S. Also follow them on Instagram and the X at Belly Up Sports. That's a good way to reach out to follow everything that's going on at Belly Up. And then check out Goals TV, man. If you guys have been watching Unleashed with Eric Winalda, you're missing out on some great content over there. So you'll see some good stuff over there. GOLZ.tv. Once again, GOLZ.tv. Follow them on Instagram at GOLZ.tv, goals.tv, and on the X at GOLZ_TV, goals_TV. So you're in the know. And also, shout out to Roosevelt Spencer, who makes the beats, the intros. He's very hard worker for us. He's so special for us because we named, and that's the reason why we named our Player of the Year award after him. So, if you guys need some beat work done, well, hit up Spencer at That Guy Dope on Instagram. Once again, at That Guy Dope on Instagram, and he'll take great care of you like he always does with us. Whether you're trying to create a YouTube channel, trying to create a podcast, or maybe you're just trying to make it in the music business, well, Spencer is definitely your guy. So be on the lookout for that. But thank you so much for listening to episode 204. Catch us next week for episode 205, and where hopefully I'm better. I am not sick again. So let's very much hope for that. But till next time, take care, guys.